Welcome to Zen Live. I'm a little late this morning. I just wasn't ready, and I had to find my song. And I titled this talk, "The Mockingbird's Conceit." And the other morning, I have a front porch here that's on Main Street of a small town, but it's kind of noisy and trucks go by. And I have a crepe myrtle and a few other trees right there. And every year a mockingbird nests here, and every year a mockingbird sings on my front porch. And so I go out and sit in my chair, and I read my little Buddha books, and the mockingbird sings. And the other morning, I remember closing my eyes and just being the sound of the mockingbird. And there was suddenly it was the only sound in the universe. Suddenly the Mockingbird Song was the song of the whole cosmos. It wasn't like this song was the cosmos. It was like the Mockingbird Song was just this. Totally, absolutely, just this, you see. So there was no naming it. There was no thinking about, oh, that's the Mockingbird Song. What is he singing? I wonder if it's, yada, yada, yada. There was no yada, yada. It was just this song, and it just seemed to be my center. In other words, the sense of myself listening to the song suddenly kind of like dissolved, and there was just the song. There was no me listening to it, and yet at the same time I was aware of the song. So there's a certain irony here. And I think we really spend our whole life trying to understand irony. At least I do. Because irony means it's this and not that. And irony requires a leap that is not a leap. The most famous example of irony is Shakespeare's Mark Antony's speech about Caesar, when he says Caesar or Cassius and his slayers are honorable men. Oh yes, everybody agrees he's honorable. And as the talk goes on, it becomes obvious that he is not. The slayers of Caesar are not honorable. They are the opposite. Yet he keeps saying they are honorable men. So irony means that you stay here in the original position, yet there is a leap. He is not honorable, yet he is honorable. That's the irony of it. You don't really leap to another view. You stay in the original view, yet you leap and have the opposite view and hold them both together at the same time. So it is a mystical leap, and this is Zen. This is the leap that transcends the cone, the pair of opposites, the illogical contradiction. And life is illogical and a contradiction. Is the mockingbird one or two? Am I listening to the mockingbird, or is the mockingbird listening to me? So there is a definite irony in our human experience that, when we're unable to penetrate it, creates a feeling of being separate. So, am I one with you? Am I one with life, or am I two? You see. So this question, am I two or one? And if I'm just two, there's suffering, because I must be one. You see, I must be one with life, and yet I'm two. So how can I be one and two? Well, you can't. unless you penetrate the song with the irony that you are one and yet you are two. So this is a leap that is not a leap. And there again is irony. So anyway, the Mockingbird Song, and there was another thing about the song, about mockingbirds, if you want to look at them objectively for a minute. They don't really have an original song. They just piece together the songs of other birds. So they're kind of like a integrating song that is the same but different. So each mockingbird is totally unique, yet they're the same, and they don't create anything new. They just recycle old bird songs. Kind of like we're all that. We are all mockingbirds in the sense that we're all life, just recycling life. Nothing changes. We're just life recycling life. Yet in our recycling, we recycle it in unique ways. So we are unique and at the same time the same. So this is that irony that we're all one and yet we're all unique and different, you see. So unless we can grasp and take that leap where we are one and unique at the same time simultaneously, we miss the mark and we suffer. And this is the whole teaching of Buddhism. When Buddha was asked what you teach, he said, I simply teach suffering and the cessation of suffering. That's it. For 50 years he wandered, he taught in northern India teaching suffering. And the primary axiom of Buddhism is that, and when he came out of his enlightenment and spoke for the first time, he gave the four noble or wise truths. And the first one is all life is suffering. All life is pain. Even the pleasure of getting out of it is painful, that you cannot escape it. And that pain, that suffering, and people say this is pessimistic. Oh, God, don't go there. What do you mean all life is suffering? I just had a great time at the beach. But the point is that this is ironic. If all life is suffering, and you come to a point in your life where you realize that you can't get out of the fix, that you can't, by willpower, by strategy, by means, by calculation, by cultivation, by self-help, by Buddhism, by meditation, by yoga, nothing, you cannot get out of the duality of separation of me from the world and me from myself, and that is the suffering of not being able, of not being one. And so our effort to become one, to get rid of suffering, creates the suffering. So when we realize that everything we're doing is creating our suffering, everything we're doing is putting, Jesus on the cross. Everything we're doing is nailing ourselves to the cross. Every nail that it's like the image of you people building their own. You got to make your own coffin, and then I'm going to shoot you and put in there. Well, this nail. Here's a good metaphor. So you're inside the coffin, buried alive, and you're pounding on it to get out. And there's somebody else pounding nails into the coffin. The pounding of the nails into the coffin and the pounding on the inside is the same pounding. It's one pounding, but we perceive it as two. So I want to get out of suffering, and the world's putting me in suffering. Bam, 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 bam. That is duality, and that is the cause of suffering, said the Buddha. Not seeing that the pounding to get out and the pounding to get in is the same pounding. And when we can only see that when we realize that I can't get out of the coffin by pounding. And that only comes when the suffering is great. So suffering is the way out of suffering. In a hymn to Jesus, I just read this, but I've never seen the actual hymn. It said, if you knew how to suffer, you'd have the power not to suffer. And this is the teaching of the Buddha in Zen, that the way out of suffering is through suffering, through pain, and that's ironic. So, okay, so anyway, thank you for dropping in, and I'll see you this evening at Martini time.